welcome back. So today we are going to continue with Unit 6 or Lesson 6, which is Managing the Human Capital. So in this topic, we are going to take a look at the outline of this topic, identifying strength and capabilities of personnel. We are going to take a look at training and compensation policy. So basically, this is the human resource function in an organization. Okay, so as an introduction, the management of human resource, like I've mentioned, is primary factors that affect the level of success. We have discussed before this. In one of the important part is to make sure that we select the best people that works for us. So now that we have good people, the top talent working with us, we should be able to manage them. Okay, we should be able to manage them. And then to make sure that they are motivated to work with us, they are understanding their responsibility, and also we as an employer, we should know how to compensate them as I mean uh, appropriately. Okay. All right. uh, so before we start, right, we should be able, as an employer, we should be able to identify the strength and the capabilities of each and every employee so that we can maximize the talent that they have, right? And that it will be easier for us to coordinate. It is all related, and then everything will make it easy. So the learning outcome of this chapter, you should be able to discuss the importance of identifying employee strength and capabilities. So this is the way that we can identify skill, talent, and then later on we should know what kind of training to give them. And let's say if they have achieved their capabilities, so we should know what are the compensation policy, what are the compensation appropriate for them. Explain the benefit of investing in employee training, right? And then you should be able to evaluate the significance of compensation policy. Okay, so the first one is to identify the strength and capabilities of personnel, right? So the importance of identifying strength and capabilities of personnel is, um, first of all, because of the strategic planning. So if you are familiar with the SMART long and term goal, right? By identifying the strength and capabilities of personnel, it can assist manager in setting this goal, right? And then in terms of leadership and management, so let's say if you know the employee's strength and capabilities, it can help managers to identify who can be trained with who can be taught, sorry, with leadership responsibility. So it will be easy for you to coordinate or to give authority or to identify which one is the perfect person to do any task required based on their capabilities, right? And then allocation of resources. So one of the most important things in management um, is to know how to allocate resources. So again, when you know what are the strengths and then what are their capabilities, so it will be easier for you to assign them accordingly. All right, as a human resource, it will be easy for you to assign them accordingly, according to the job responsibility. And then outsourcing, so it helps manager to determine the overall capacity of their organization. It will be easier for manager to provide training and development appropriately, right? To identify which training is appropriate for them, for your employees. And project management, okay, it assists managers in making easy for them to identify the number of employees that should be placed in the same team. So if you still remember our previous topic about organizing, I see the same thing, right? To avoid having too many person in the same workload, or to avoid having less person with a heavy workload, right? So this is why it's important for a manager to understand, to identify the strengths and capabilities of each personnel, right? So if it's important, there must be strategy to utilize this, right? There must be strategy to identify it. So the first one is to as simple as it sounds, is direct asking, sorry, means you ask, right? You can ask your staff, what do you like to work with, what are your strengths, right? So I believe that each and every individual, you should know what are your strengths, what are your capabilities, all right? So take time to reflect yourself. What can you say your strength is? All right, this is very important. Um, I have met several people, academics, where they know what are their strengths. For example, like I'm very good at publication, so you can say anything to me, but you cannot beat my publication. Some of it is very good at teaching, right? So you can give me any kind of class that doesn't matter how big the number is, but yeah, I'm just going to do it, and then I'm going to make sure that people will enjoy my class. Okay, so we should know what are our strengths, right? What are our capabilities. So when and as a manager, if they ask, or sorry, if we want to identify, we can just simply ask. All right, what are your strengths? How can you contribute, and so on. Okay, and then next is user profile. User profile is your um, employees. Okay, employees profile. When you it's you do have like when they first join, and then maybe evaluation, from the evaluation. Okay, so you should know. Okay, so you should know what are the what do we call it, profile is, and so on. Okay, what are their strengths, what are the capabilities based on what you have evaluated them before this. Okay. This is very important for managers to be aware, to be attentive, right? I believe that, let's say, if you, I'm not sure how managers should do this, but maybe keeping a tab of your age of employees, so that you know what are their strengths. Okay, and then another thing is, we are in the the digitalization era, so you know that we can have the internal website, okay, internal website or internal network where employees can update. It's just like a social media, but for professional use, where they can update all these things. Okay, their profile. You can see as well in the website, our website Uniraza. You can see our profile. So in this profile, we outline what are we good at, and then what are our background, and so on. Okay, so as simple as that. It can be published in the website, or it can be published in the internal networks, right? Internal networks, what we call as intranet. Okay, our intranet. So make use of that. I believe that every company should have this internal network. And then use of tests. Okay, you have use of tests. You can give any kind of tests, various tests, to identify their strength, capabilities, personality, and then you can use interviews as well, right? It is different than direct asking. Direct asking is, you ask question directly about your strength and capabilities. But for test is, you ask question, and after that you analyze the answers, right? They analyze the answers, and then it does during the interview, maybe you can give like questions like a dilemma, situational questions, right? For them to solve a problem or anything. So from there, you can know what are their strengths, and so on. Okay, and then observation and listening. So I believe that managers should do this as well. You should be attentive, and then you should observe your employee. Okay, you should be the one. If we are a manager, as a management, we should be aware of our subordinates. We should be aware of what's happening, And then listening attentively. All right, this is where the grapevine is very important. Like informal communication happens, so you should listen to those, right? You should listen to those as well, because sometimes employees, they don't they filter they sorry they filter what they want to say and so on, right? So you should be able to listen, um, without, how to say, without this filter. Okay? Normally they will say this during informal relationship, informal communication, right? And then okay, you must be very careful when applying this strategy, right, in identification of employees' strength, because let's say if you are not being observant, so you can miss out all the unique strength, okay, because sometimes it can be mistaken for normal behavior. And then use of competition meaning that you have a work team, right? So make it like gamification. One of the trends nowadays is gamification. Okay, gamification meaning that you implement an element of gaming in your work environment. Okay, I'm not saying about video games and or some sort of that. Okay? It is about, like, for example, like ranking. It's about like a healthy competition. Mm, so from there, you know that who's going to push other, right? To show their qualities, right? I think if let's see, um, so it can be as simple as hitting a target, or if you, okay, this is really out of topic, but we can implement this. All right, we can implement this if you watch the series, the sitcom, the Brooklyn Nine, right? Brooklyn Nine. There is a moment, there is an episode where the two detective is competing with each other. Okay, who's going to get the highest arrest? So that I'm sorry, so that they work harder, okay, to win. So in a way, in a way that you can learn a lot from the competition, you can see that what motivates them, and then yeah, enjoy working, provided that it's a healthy competition. So yeah, okay. However, this is not. I don't think that this is appropriate to do in a very frequent basis. Maybe like one time a year or a special occasion or something like that. Okay, next is training. All right, the main factors that result in the need of employee training. So when we need training, okay, firstly is the new employees. We should give new employees training because this is when they should be familiar with the work culture and then the work environment. The new workplace might not be similar with the previous one. The way that you are doing your work over here might not be the same. So as a manager, you should identify what kind of training that is appropriate for the for new employees. All right. And then the reason why we have this, because we want them to settle down as quickly as possible within the shortest time as possible, right? Um, that's why we have a probation period of 6 months. Okay, so in theory, you should be able to grasp everything in your new workplace within 6 months, right? 3 months is if you are still lost within 3 months, and it's okay, but by the 6 months, you should be able to at least work without the supervision, and then you understand at least your work. Okay, you should be familiar with your work, right? And then after that, after 6 months, you should be able to understand how others works as well, right? And then you should learn new things. But for the period of 6 months, you should understand your own job, your responsibility in theory. Okay, and then next is updating the employee skill. So world is moving, we are learning every time, things are changing rapidly. So it's very important for us to upgrade our skill, right? Um, and then sometimes this is very important because we sometimes we are no longer working the environment that is what we call like an outdated or obsolete working environment. So yeah, they should engage with training. And then change, okay, change, for example, like any kind of changes in the company. So maybe you are moving towards a new strategic planning, and then you adopted a new technology. So definitely you need training for that. Okay. Promotion and career growth. Okay, so one of it is to get to for employee personal development, right, for their career growth. Let's say if you know you are about to identify the successions of the company, definitely you should send them training for leadership skill and then things that new to them, right? For the sake of career growth. So we have two categories of employee method training: on the job training and off the job training, right? So for on-the-job training, this one is conducted within the work environment. Does not require them to set aside their daily activity for them to receive training. So this is on-the-job working happens in the work environment, right? Very cost effective. Okay, very cost effective, and then yeah, can be utilized to provide training to semi-proficient workers. And then off-the-job training, this is bring the worker outside their working environment to provide their training. I believe that a lot of people love this off-the-job training. So this is the moment where they can, get out from the work and then experience to get exposed with other things. So I like this off-the-job training as well, so that I can learn from from a lot of people. Okay, and then this one is it can be in, let's say in a virtual environment, or it can be like any a situation that is actually similar with their work environment. Okay, um, it can be like cost effective as well, but I think if it will be a cost effective if larger number of staff participate. Okay, so that within the short period of time you have larger staff, and then you can send them at one time, so they are equipped with new knowledge. Okay, within the same time. Okay. Other methods of employee training. So this is, I believe that I'm not going to explain everything, but these are uh, some of the methods that you can try, can adopt in your workplace, right? Mentoring and coaching, uh, partner up with this, what do you call, um, like senior worker, not senior in terms of age, but in terms of the seniority in terms of years of service. So you can partner up new employee with your senior employee, so that they, instead of the management handle them, so let their coach or mentoring them. Okay, so you can give lectures, but make sure that this is effective, because I believe that like in this class as well, it's not easy to listen to lectures, right? Especially if it's online. At least if it's face to face, then you can have like two-way communication, and then you can see all the um, what non-verbal communication. So all of this, all these methods you can try in your workplace, you can implement. And if you don't know how, then don't worry, we have a lot of training providers, very creative nowadays, right? So they can construct this training. You just tell them what your aims and so on. Okay. So I believe that the advantages of employees training is not a new thing for you. You should know right now. Okay, what are the advantages of employee training? So to increase productivity and so on. Okay. Okay, next is compensation policy. Okay, compensation policy. Compensation means like one of it is a reward. So let's see if this is why this compensation policy is in this topic is because we want to expose you to how to make your employees happy. Okay, so this is actually relate a lot. Before we can talk about compensation policy, actually we should talk about the motivation, right? Motivation theories and so on. We do have several motivation theory, right? I believe that you have learned in other subjects, okay, in organizational behavior and so on. So um, one of the elements in motivation is compensation, right? Why we give compensation is because we want to reward our employee to drive their motivation. So um, some of the okay, so elements of compensation policy. Okay, and compensation of sorry, elements of compensation policy. So for example, like it can be okay, a compensation policy is actually referring to the set of rules and procedure that a given organization utilizes to determine what are the suitable monetary or non-monetary benefit that should be awarded, right? The policy lah, okay, the policy guideline standards, and then what are the procedures and so on, right? Before we talk about the elements, so some of the rewards, okay, I would like to share some of the rewards um, that company can give, right? So for example, like motivational reward programs, so we do have like a pay per performance ataupun kita panggil sebagai merit pay. So the purpose of this program is to reward individual employees for contribution in terms of performance. It can be like a very common one, lump sum bonus. So for this program to work, manager must specify the relationship between the employee's pay and then the expected level of performance. Right? Normally, we will do performance appraisal, KPI, and so on. And then from those performance, we are going to know and then we are going to have some results. So from the result, we identify the pay performance. It can be percentage, it can be rating, it can be anything you like, right? And then we do have lump sum bonus based on performance. We also have gain sharing. Gain sharing, this one is we reward both employees and manager in the business unit for meeting predetermined performance target. Okay, so this is gain sharing. So both managers get and then employees also get it. The reason why we do this is because we would like to encourage teamwork. And then we do have employee stock. Okay, employee stock ownership plan ataupun ESOP, where employees they were given a part of ownership of an organization, so they can share the improved profit performance. All right, a lot of companies starting doing this as well, given shares based on the performance. All right, and then pay for knowledge. Let's say if they have a skill required, so they can get extra payment for that. Um, so the purpose of this is to encourage staff, encourage employees to learn more, to acquire new skill. Okay. Um, so rugi ke company buat macam ni? Actually no, not rugi lah, because when they acquire knowledge ataupun skill, so as an employer you should tell them that you should for the employee to adapt, to share the knowledge, right, to contribute back to the company, right? And if it's appropriate, then you can pay them for knowledge. And next is this is one of the reward but non-monetary, where it can increase motivation by giving them flexible working hours. Flexible working schedule. Right. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with the flexible working hours. They can work in their hours as long as they clock in, clock out 8 hours a day. they can work anywhere as long as the job is finished. And yeah, right, things like that. All right. So for the compensation policy, what what are the elements? So it can be temporary assignment of compensation rate, okay, allowance, for example, and then voluntary and involuntary demotion compensation procedures. All right, voluntary or I mean, uh, whether they would like to be volunteer for uh, demotion, demotion of compensation procedure or whatever, and then increment, new employees remuneration policy. Right, so you should have a standardization for that. I haven't worked for HR, so I wouldn't know how they actually how this works actually. Okay. And I believe that different company they have a different policy for this new employees. But I can share with you some of the outcome of the point, some of the practices. I'm not sure how it done, but I can share with you some of the practices. Okay, so some of the company I know that they based on years, number of years when they apply, when applicants apply the job, it is required for them to submit every proof of their working years. So your minimum salary, your base salary would be based on the number of years, not skill to later kan, but your base salary would be number of years you are working. Okay, so that is one. And then another one is they are based from the sorry, salary report. Okay, salary report, we do have several of them. I'm sorry, let me check. Okay. I know Job Street, they have one. Okay, salary report. I should put Malaysia there. So yeah, so normally what I use is um, this one. Okay, this is what I share with my undergrad student friends that smart job market. This is one of the company that I know use this guideline to determine uh, salary. So you can see here. Um, so normally we will see like oil and gas, a salary guide based on the experience, something like this. Okay, and there are a lot more that company can refer to. Okay, so this is some of the practices that I do. Right? Salary adjustment procedure. It depends sometimes, but I'm not. I don't think that this is done frequently, or maybe like several year. Sorry, maksud I ialah one particular year they revise salary. Okay, they revise salary based on the cost of living, based on the market trends. Okay, salary market trends and so on lah. Okay, and then emoluments and gratuities. Yeah, right. This is like bonus. Okay, like a payment based. It can be based on performance, it can be based on the company performance. All right, it can be just like an appreciation for you, for the employee. Market adjustment policies, contractual employment remuneration policy, overtime compensation policies. It depends, right? Overtime, this is one of the compensation as well. But normally for overtime, I think that most of you are aware of this. Okay, a certain salary are not entitled for overtime, but it depends on the company, right? It depends on the company. Some of the company they still do a reward overtime, okay, and then promotions. So the key elements, okay, and this is quite important. Okay, the key element of any compensation policy. So the key elements of compensation policy, meaning that what when we want to introduce any kind of policy, what are the things that we should make sure of? So this is what we meant by key elements of any compensation policy. So the first one, it should be comprehensive. Okay, comprehensive means that the name is comprehensive, so it should cover every aspect. All right, compensation policy, so that it will be fair. All right, and then it should involve the monetary and non-monetary benefit received by different types of employee. Right, you should be able to identify. You should be able to be um, differentiate and then to trade it accordingly. Okay, comprehensiveness. And then transparency. You should be transparent about the compensation policy. So how to be transparent is you have handbook, right? So you can give employee handbook the um, the general practices, okay, not the calculation, but calculation normally, okay. But however, okay, most of the company that I've been with, they show up the calculation of how many bonus that you have based on your performance and so on. Okay, so they are being transparent on how it's calculated. They are being transparent of how the company is performing that year. So yeah, okay, this is one of the good key elements in any compensation policy. You should be transparent, right? Why? Because this can attract the employees' trust. Remember, like lack of transparency, it can bring to distrust between employer and employee, and we don't want that. Okay, and then fairness and equity. So as a manager, as management, they should be able to treat everyone fairly and based on the composition policy and so on. Okay, and then market rates, okay, should be in line and updated. Okay, updated. Should receive similar with competitors, right, in other organization, so that they will feel like valued. They will feel like it is a good thing that I work here because I get the same. Imagine that your worker heard about same responsibility, same position, but similar nature of company and so on, but yet much less than other companies, right? So definitely it can affect their motivation. So at least you are in par with the market rate, and then must be according to the employment laws, all right? So you want to avoid any kind of lawsuit. Make sure that your employee benefit is giving, especially for a business in a different geographical areas, different countries, and then different. So make sure that you are aware of the employment laws over here. Okay. So for the three basic compensation, we have direct, we have indirect, and then we have non-financial ataupun non-monetary. Okay. So for example, like direct compensation, this one is paid in cash. Whatever like salary, bonus, cash meaning that in terms of monetary, like you can see um, a sum of money. Okay. Uh, Hourly wages, commission, and so on. Indirect compensation, this can be, for example, like so it can be like health benefit. It can be like your medical, right? It can be like all those claims, all those things. Okay, this one's an indirect. And then non-financial. So this one include like, for example, like flexible working hours, all those training is actually one of compensation because we try to reward you with new knowledge for free, right? I really like the fact that I can ask for any training here, okay, in this organization. I'm very happy because I don't know lah why I like to attend training so much, but yeah. So as long as we do have training requisition here, so you submit any training requisition and then they will assist you, right? So I'm happy with that. This is the non-financial, means that you don't get the company will pay to the training provider, but we get knowledge, we can get the training. Yeah. So yeah. Other than that, we have statutory benefits, right? For example, like to their workers in observance of the employment laws and regulation, okay, and then voluntary benefit. So this one is to promote their competitiveness and lower turnover. Okay, so that's all for this topic, right? And then we are going to continue with Unit 7, which is leading.